What's going on, everybody? Matt here, back with another edition of the Spring Camp Reports. We're doing this one a little bit earlier, dropping this on Friday morning. I am technically recording this Thursday night, though. A ton of teams with some very interesting practice notes that we're going to go through, but I do also want to mention didn't get through all of them. There's still some Pac 12 schools and some SEC schools I'm going to try and get to and drop a video tonight, Friday night as well. And then on top of that, I think I'm going to try and do one this weekend. Is a lot of teams are opening up their spring practices for some big spring scrimmages opening up this weekend. USC, Ohio State, UNC are three I know of off the top of my head that will all be having open scrimmages this weekend. So a lot of news could come out of those. I will definitely try and attack those schools and some others that are doing some big scrimmages this weekend, which seems to be a big one, which we will again try and do later this weekend. But let's jump into the spring practice notes for March 24th. All right, as I mentioned, we've got a decent amount of schools to get through today, so I might go through these a little quickly. We're going to start going up to Louisville. So they just opened up. Not a lot went on today in one of their first practices, but a lot of praise is being heaped toward Jack Plummer, who transferred in to play here with Jeff Brom. And it's pretty much been stated that he is the front runner and is poised as the favorite to win the starting job. I didn't think Pierce Clarkson was going to win it, so not a big thing here. Obviously, though, we want the Jeff Brom quarterback and a wide receiver. Not a lot was talked about in this first practice about the wide receivers, but definitely something we'll continue to pay attention to so we can make sure we get the right one. Moving on over to Miami, Tyler Van Dyke has just been dialed in from all reports so far this spring. He's shown a lot in the quick drills, quick release drills, in multiple 3 and 4 down periods. He was completing passes and just seemed very comfortable in the offense. New offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson has been having him, Ja'Carri Brown, and Emory Williams practice these flush out drills where they flush out and throw on the run. All of them have apparently been exceeding in that. Emory Williams, though, is continuing to get a lot of love, though he is technically, I think, the third string quarterback, at least at the moment. They've said that he has by far the best arm in the camp, and he is gripping and ripping it. He has really good spin on the ball. They think that he has the talent to develop into a guy who can get this offense where it needs to be. And I don't know I feel like that sounds like it's a shot at Brown and Van Dyke. I don't think that it is, but they just really seem to be in love with Emory Williams, and he's apparently impressing a ton. He's really done a good job, according to the reports, pushing the ball down the field. So for these, this is 2 camps worth of stuff today. Tyler Van Dyke was with the ones. Henry Parrish was the running back. He had Colby Young, Jacoby George, and Xavier Restrepo as the top wide receivers, with Cam McCormick as the first string tight end. With the twos, it has been Ja'Carri Brown with Don Chaney Jr. at the running back position, Isaiah Horton, Robbie Washington, Rashard Smith as the wide receivers, and then Jaleel Skinner has actually been running with the twos. I was really hoping he would take a step forward to be with the ones, but again, just big takeaways. Tyler Van Dyke looking extremely comfortable in this offense, and Emory Williams continuing to impress here for the Miami Hurricanes. Let's go on over to the Big 12. We're going to take a look at Oklahoma. So Jackson Arnold, who is listed as a third string quarterback, he might jump to the 2, but currently he's coming as the 3. He has so far been taking the drills behind Dylan Gabriel and Davis Bevel. However, the reports are that when Dylan Gabriel and Jackson Arnold are throwing the ball, they just look different. The control that they have on their passes, the arm, the touch on the throws, you can see the difference between those two and Davis Bevel. The only other note that's really coming out of Oklahoma, not a ton on the wide receivers at the moment, but Gavin Sawchuk and Javonte Barnes they're calling them special. The reports and everything going on, there's just no other way to look at it. When you see them taking the handoffs and their explosiveness to get to and through the hole has just been extremely fun to watch. A lot of people are loving this 1-2 punch. Likely Barnes getting the first, second down roll, Sawchuk getting mixed in. I said on Debbie Debate earlier this week, I think Sawchuk's going to have a breakout year, but it sounds like both of these guys are looking phenomenal so far for Oklahoma. Marcus Major still dealing with an injury, but I kind of feel like if Sawchuk and Barnes keep doing this, Major is not going to have much of a role to play here. Speaking of Major, but a different one, over at TCU, Sonny Dykes has been raving about wide receiver Major Everheart. Said he has taken a big step this year. When you can run a 10-3, the worst thing you can do is think too much, which he felt like he was doing last year. Struggled with injuries, couldn't get out of his own way. This year, he's coming with a clear mind and just seems extremely focused, and he has been hitting the ground running for this TCU wide receiver core, which I think is fair to say has a lot of question marks in it. As much as we love JoJo Earl, and he could be the one, he's not guaranteed that. While Earl has been talked about a lot in the camp reports, and all of it has been glowing, Major Everheart has been the player that Sonny Dykes has been talking about the most. And when you have that kind of play speed, I think it's different, and they could use him in various different ways, which he also talked about doing. It's going to be very intriguing to see what he does the rest of spring. Probably our first negative report of spring camp. Unfortunately, Cordell Russell is going to be out for the remainder of spring. He was going up for a pass in one-on-ones the other day and came down wrong. They didn't say if that was came down wrong, hurt an ankle, knee. There's no report on that. All the report was that he came down wrong and he will not practice the rest of spring. So that really sucks as a guy who we already saw in the first couple reports of TCU practice, like he was working into the slot. They had him out at Z. Like I was excited to see if he was going to be able to work his way into a one role. But with this wide receiver core kind of coming on with Earl, you've got multiple other players there. Savion's getting a lot of love. Obviously, Everhart. No, I'm forgetting someone that is getting a lot of love as well. I think it's going to be hard for Russell to break in if he's not practicing the rest of the spring. Going on over to Texas. Maalik Murphy is back, and he has solidified, at least as of now, himself as the QB2 in the room currently. Reports were that the ball just looks different, leaving Maalik Murphy's hands. In fact, there were multiple people saying that they heard the ball whistling by at times when he let it go. The most impressive throw of the camp the other day went to Maalik Murphy, who had a hash-to-hash throw across the field to DeAndre Moore on an out route on the money. They also said he looked really good as well in this camp in DeAndre Moore, but it was a lot about Maalik Murphy and his passing ability, which does move Arch to the 3. So I think all those people who were, peddling the false narratives about Arch Manning versus Quinn Ewers, Arch is not even the second quarterback on the depth chart right now. It's Maalik Murphy. And unless Murphy transfers out, I don't know that Arch is going to jump him. Sark seems to love himself some Maalik Murphy. Jonathan Brooks is back. He is running in drills. He is not technically practicing, but is running with drills. Looks like he will be back here soon. Jadon Blue continues to impress in camp. I'm very curious to see what happens with this Texas running back room. Sark has openly talked about in multiple press conferences now this spring about how he's always had a 1,000-yard rusher. Does that mean he'll commit to one of these guys? Will it be Jadon Blue? Will it be Jonathan Brooks? I don't know. I feel like Sark is telling you he wants to have a 1,000-yard rusher. I think Brooks is going to be the starter, but with as impressive as Jadon Blue has been, I'll be curious to see how much work he gets. And I also don't want to write off Cedric Baxter. There's been a lot of talk about how smart he has been, how he's already picked up the offense. He looks good. He had a nasty stiff arm in practice the other day. Personally, I think Baxter already is the best out of the 3 in that room, but he's probably going to be the 3 behind Brooks and Blue as of right now. Last but not least for Texas, Isaiah Nayor is back in practice. While he is not technically participating in practice, he has been doing some light drills and work. But the reports are that he is ahead of schedule, so that is good news. He did tear that ACL in fall camp last year, so hopefully he'll be back by fall camp this year. Penn State. James Franklin has come out and said that Keandre Lambert-Smith and Harrison Wallace has separated themselves as the top 2 wide receivers in the room, while Maalik McClain has been very competitive and his size and speed really stands out. He still needs to continue to gain comfort and perform in these practices. Both Drew Alar and Bo Prabula have been very impressive, but he did also go out of his way to compliment Jackson Smolik, who has said that he's doing really good things. He still has got work to do and a way to go to get there, but they've been very pleased with what he showed in camp. So it sounds like Drew Alar, which we all knew was going to be the starter, but it looks like Bo will likely be backing him up with Jackson Smolik, the freshman, as the 3. Moving on over to Wisconsin, they have not technically opened up their spring camp yet, but word has come out that while Mordecai is undoubtedly the starter for the 2023 season, Evers might still have a role in this offense. Luke Fickell and Phil Longo have praised Evers for his winter workouts. He has come in focused and determined. He has looked fast and athletic, and they've even had him running with the wide receivers and the tailbacks. I don't know what this is going to mean for him. He was a very athletic quarterback, played at Flower Mound High School in Texas, is a very fast player. I can't imagine they're actually going to line him up at running back or wide receiver, but we'll see. He has been running with them. They seem to be all in on his work ethic and what he's shown. Obviously, once that camp opens up and we get some more news, we'll go for it, but they have not even opened that up. This is strictly winter workout stuff, and this coaching staff seems to be falling in love with Nick Evers. Arizona State, not much to go on. Tevin White has been okay. Elijah Badger has been very impressive. So with the first team the past couple of days, Trenton Borgo has been the first team quarterback. Tevin White, first team running back. Elijah Badger, Melquan Stovall, and Xavier Gilroy have been the top wide receivers. In the second offense, Bennett Meredith has been the quarterback with Carlos Brooks at running back. Chad Johnson Jr., Sean Charles, and Geo Sanders have been the top wide receivers. Troy O'Meary and Andre Johnson have been rotating in on the 11-on-11 reps, which is weird because Troy O'Meary was getting a lot of hype early on the couple of the practices and now seems to be rotating in. Hopefully that it's not an injury thing, and they're just trying to rotate him in. And last but not least, Drew Pine was very sharp in the live reps at the end of practice, completing several explosive plays and deep completions. So we'll see if he works his way out of the third place on the depth chart and up into one of the starting 2. Staying in the state of Arizona, but going to Arizona, Tetairoa McMillan has been absolutely dominant in practice. McMillan has gone up over multiple quarterbacks to get the ball, and Jaden Delora seems extremely comfortable getting him the ball. He's been throwing it in multiple different areas and allowing McMillan to go get it. McMillan ran a route up the middle of the field and caught a touchdown in traffic surrounded by 3 different defenders, and the coaching staff has been consistent in saying they believe there is a massive jump incoming for Tetairoa McMillan this season. My goodness. Sorry, guys. He has been widely considered as of right now the best receiver in this camp, and they believe he will be considered the best receiver in the conference. Noah Fafita, a guy that I liked last year, had a few miscues in camp, but for the most part has been very good. He seems much more comfortable in the offense and running it. They don't expect him to start it all this year unless Jaden Delora gets hurt, but they are comfortable in putting him out there if that does happen. Moving over to Colorado. Only really big thing here, which I'm sure most of you have seen if you're on Twitter, Travis Hunter is focusing more on wide receiver than defensive back. Did look a little, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but not great in a video posted online where Shedeur Sanders threw a ball that really was, in my opinion, perfectly thrown, and all Hunter had to do was run under it. Instead, he jumped for some reason and kind of broke his momentum and ended up falling to the ground. But we'll see. He's still got a lot of time to work that out. Still an uberly talented athlete and player. I have no doubt he's going to get there. Oregon State. So Aiden Childs has finally struggled a little bit. Bengal Branson has been the most consistent quarterback of the camp, but it's pretty much been said that DJ will be the starter regardless of how good Bengal Branson has been in camp, because while he's been consistent, he does not have the tools or upside of DJ. Wide receiver Zach Card, though, the true freshman, has continued to stand out and make plays. They fully expect him to suit up and be on the field this fall. So he is a wide receiver that we did not have in our freshman guide. We'll see what this offense looks like. I mean, it's hard to say you want to trust in a guy like a Zach Card on this offense because we saw how inconsistent DJ was last year with Clemson. But I trust Jonathan Smith, and he's had this Oregon State Beavers offense rolling the past 2 years with really bad quarterback play. Zach Hard might be a guy you should be willing to stash at the end of your rookie or at the end of your freshman supplemental drafts, or at worst, have near the top of your watch list. Last school of the day, USC. They had their first open practice. Austin Jones and Marshawn Lloyd split reps. Both of them looked good. But the biggest news coming out of this, and if you've been watching these videos or listening to them on the podcast, you already know, Zachariah Branch is being called him. He is him. Himothy Zachariah Branch, however you want to say it. This dude has been incredible. So they were talking to Zach Smith, who said that he watched Zachariah Branch run a out route. Or I'm sorry, it was a post route. This was a post route. The out route, he had a one-handed catch. The post route, where Caleb Williams threw the ball, Zachariah Branch had a shoelace catch that you would think most wide receivers would fall over on, the way he had to catch the ball, and he kept his balance and ran in for a touchdown. Zachariah Branch has also been back on special teams and punt returns and been fairly impressive there, and in fact stood behind with Keel McDonald and worked a little bit longer at the end of practice on certain punt situations. So we might see him on special teams a decent amount as well. Going to be interesting. Zachariah Branch, our wide receiver one, we knew he was going to be uber talented. And sounds like from all the reports, he's absolutely just destroying USC camp right now. Would not be surprised we see him on the field sooner rather than later. That's going to be it for this morning show. Like I said, I will try and come back. It might drop fairly late Friday night, but I will try and do another one, trying to finish up the rest of the Pac-12 schools that I did not get a chance to get to, and all of the SEC schools that have opened up camp. And then we will likely drop another video at some point in time on Sunday after a lot of these schools wrap up their weekend scrimmages, because I do think we can take a lot out of those scrimmages, who's playing with the ones and how the scrimmages went. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of these videos, and we will talk to you guys again soon.